Why 1917 changed World War I forever? A pivotal year that reshaped the world.
In early 1917, millions of soldiers were still dying in the trenches, yet the war seemed frozen in place. The Western Front had barely moved for more than 2 years. Generals promised victory, politicians promised endurance, and civilians were told the end was near. But behind the front lines, something far more dangerous was happening. Events that would completely transform World War I, redraw the global balance of power, and quietly decide who would win the war long before the final battles were fought.
History is not just the past. It is the bridge to who we are today. Join us. Like, subscribe.
At the beginning of that year, Germany faced a terrifying reality. The British naval blockade was slowly strangling the German economy. Food shortages were spreading, industry was weakening, and military leaders knew time was no longer on their side. They needed a dramatic move, something risky enough to break the stalemate. Their answer was unrestricted submarine warfare, a decision that allowed German U-boats to attack any ship heading toward Allied ports, including neutral vessels. The strategy aimed to cut Britain off from global supplies and force surrender within months. But this decision triggered a chain reaction that Germany could not fully control. Across the Atlantic, the United States had tried to remain neutral since 1914. Many Americans believed the war was a European disaster that should stay in Europe. That position changed rapidly in 1917. German submarine attacks began sinking ships carrying American passengers and goods, increasing public anger. Then came the Zimmermann telegram, a secret German message proposing a military alliance with Mexico against the United States if America entered the war. When the telegram was revealed, American public opinion shifted almost overnight. In April 1917, the United States officially entered World War I, bringing enormous industrial power, fresh troops, and financial strength to the Allied side. At nearly the same moment, another historic shock was unfolding in the East. The Russian Empire, exhausted by military defeats, economic collapse, and social unrest, entered a period of revolution. The Tsar was forced to abdicate, and months later, the Bolsheviks seized power, eventually pulling Russia out of the war entirely. For Germany, this seemed like a strategic victory. One enemy was gone. But the timing created a new and far more dangerous equation. Germany now faced the growing strength of the United States joining the Allies in the West. The year 1917, therefore, did something no previous year had accomplished. It changed the war from a balanced deadlock into a race against time. Germany attempted one final series of massive offensives in 1918, hoping to defeat the Allies before American forces arrived in full strength. When those offensives failed, the outcome of the war was no longer a question of if, but when. What makes 1917 so important in military history is not a single battle, but the collision of 3 massive turning points: the expansion of submarine warfare, the entrance of the United States, and the collapse of the Russian Empire. Together, these events reshaped alliances, shifted manpower and resources, and transformed a long stalemate into the final decisive phase of the conflict. By the end of the war, millions would look back at the trenches, the offensives, and the final armistice of 1918. But historians know the truth. The moment the future of the war truly changed was not the final battle. It was the year 1917, when the global balance quietly tilted and the fate of World War I was effectively sealed long before the guns finally fell silent.
Thank you for watching. If this journey mattered, show your support. Like the video, subscribe to The Bridge, and stay connected.